My father arranged a business marriage, making me wed a female CEO. The CEO is 5 feet 6 inches and never comes home. We've been married for nearly 6 months, and I can barely remember what she looks like. But the CEO is loaded, punctually depositing £100,000 into my account every month for living expenses. I'm about to die laughing. My wife doesn't come home, and I have loads of money to spend. Life couldn't be more perfect. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. I stumbled home at 3 a.m., drunk after a night out with the lads. As I flicked on the lights, I was startled to see a strange woman sitting on my bed, who irritably said, "You've finally come back." Shocked, I immediately locked the door, ready to call the police. From behind me, the woman spoke in a low voice, "Joe Foster, don't tell me you've forgotten who I am." Too inebriated to care what she was saying, I fumbled for my phone while shouting at her, "I don't care who you are. You're done for breaking and entering. You'll be spending the night in jail. Joe Foster, I'm your wife." Wife. My brain cells fought through the alcohol haze to hold an emergency meeting, and suddenly I remembered. That's right. I had a wife. "You seem to have been living it up while I was away," Giselle Richards said, perched on the bed in a dark silk nightgown. Her long, pale legs were crossed, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of desire as I glimpsed her delicate feet beneath the hem. No, I just went out for a quick drink with the lads today. And I just happened to catch you? Yes, you have to believe me. I've been faithfully keeping the home fires burning while you were gone. As if, oh really? Giselle pushed her glasses up with a slender finger, her lips curling into a knowing smile. Well, if it's been so hard on you, darling, perhaps I should move back in tomorrow. What? No, that's not necessary. I panicked, waving my hands in refusal. Giselle frowned, her eyes narrowing threateningly as she asked, "Why? Don't you want me to come back?" Of course. That's not it. I laughed awkwardly. It's just the house is so far from your office. I'd hate for you to have such a long commute every day. Well, in that case, why don't you pack up tomorrow and move in with me? Blimey, how could such chilling words come from those lovely lips? Was this the abrupt end to my blissful married bachelor life? Giselle Richards insisted that I move in with her, and I couldn't bring myself to argue directly, so I reluctantly agreed for the time being. After I finished my evening routine, I was surprised to find Giselle still awake. She patted the bed, inviting me to join her. I awkwardly smiled and shuffled to the edge of the bed, lying down beside her with great reluctance. She turned off the lights and rolled over, pulling me into her arms. Her unfamiliar scent immediately enveloped me, causing my entire body to stiffen. It wasn't that we had never shared a bed before, but on our wedding night, she had been too drunk. By the time I woke up the next morning, she was already gone. So this was essentially our first time consciously lying in bed together. Giselle pressed close to me, gently nuzzling my head with her face. She whispered tenderly in my ear, "I'm sorry for neglecting you lately." I dared not move a muscle, inwardly wailing, "It's fine. Please continue to ignore me. I really don't mind." After much hesitation, I decided to have an honest conversation with her. I tugged at her arm and said, "Actually, I understand that our marriage is due to a business arrangement, not love. I don't mind at all that you don't come home. You can rest assured that I'm very open-minded. I won't interfere with whatever you do outside. So, it's okay if you don't come back. I think the way things were before was quite good. What do you think?" Giselle didn't respond. I could only hear her deep, steady breathing beside my ear. Once I was certain she had fallen asleep, I fumbled in the dark for my phone, intending to discuss with my mates how to maintain my freedom after marriage. To my surprise, she held me so tightly that I couldn't break free from her embrace. Perhaps my movements were too forceful, as she seemed to stir. In her half-asleep state, she pulled me even closer and mumbled, "Be good. Don't move. I have an early meeting tomorrow." Her voice, lazy and alluring, sounded so lovely that I nearly melted. Glancing at the time, I saw it was already past 4 a.m. Well, I might as well stop struggling and try to sleep. I had originally planned to have a proper talk with her when we woke up. Unfortunately, I slept so deeply that I didn't even notice when Giselle left. I was awakened by a knock at the door. Opening it, I found a sharp, professional-looking woman standing outside. She put away her phone and explained emotionlessly, "Good morning, Mr. Foster. I'm Ms. Richards' secretary. She sent me to pack up your belongings." Wait, why wasn't I informed about this? For specifics, please contact Ms. Richards directly. Now, let's get to work. At her command, workers began flooding into the room, removing my possessions one by one. I was furious, both at Giselle's unilateral decision and at these people touching my things without my consent. I plopped down on my suitcase and shouted at them, "Put everything down! If you want to move my stuff, you'll have to move me first." The secretary tilted her head, looking at me with a hint of confusion in her eyes. Then she turned to the workers and said, "Move him! Bloody hell, you cheeky little minx." Wearing my pajamas, I sat on my suitcase as the removal company brought me into Giselle Richards' house. When Giselle returned home, she was startled to see me like this. I smiled, running my fingers through my messy hair. With my right hand, I pressed Giselle's shoulder against the wall, barely containing my anger as I said, "Look, we're not acting out some CEO romance drama, are we? Don't you think you should have asked for my opinion before doing this?" Giselle feigned innocence and asked, "I want to live with my husband. Who could possibly object to that?" "No, that's not the way you put it. Do you have any objections?" You, this is. See? No one has any objections. Giselle swiftly dodged my attempt to hold her accountable. Shameless. Utterly shameless. Unlike my gritted teeth, Giselle seemed to be in an excellent mood. She took off her coat, and I inadvertently caught a glimpse of her slender waist and her shapely figure wrapped in a form-fitting slip dress. I was so shocked that I choked on my own saliva. That figure was simply stunning. Hearing me cough, Giselle turned and asked what was wrong. I quickly averted my gaze from her waist, flustered, using my hand to cover my burning face. I headed for the nearest bathroom, intending to hide inside. That figure in formal wear, combined with Giselle's face that seemed untouched by worldly concerns, exuded an overwhelming sense of restraint. I couldn't look anymore. If I did, I'd lose all sense of propriety. But in the next moment, Giselle flashed an alluring smile, casually unbuttoned 2 buttons of her blouse, and took 2 large steps forward, blocking my escape route. I was terrified. This wasn't a situation that an inexperienced young lad, no, a henpecked husband like me could handle. I shrank into the shadow she cast, like a frightened quail, arms crossed over my chest, struggling to control my nerves as I asked, What are you trying to do?" She tilted her head closer to me, the fresh scent from her neck invading my nostrils. The invisible pressure made me instinctively close my eyes. "What do you think I'm trying to do?" she whispered. "Oh my!" I exclaimed, pushing her away and quickly escaping into the bathroom. As I opened the door, I heard Giselle chuckle softly, seemingly a bit resigned. "Heh! Such a child." "What? Me a child? How dare she look down on me like that?" I told my mate Henry Hayes about this, and he had a good laugh at my expense. He decided right then that he'd take me out tonight to show me the ropes. I excitedly agreed, my fingers trembling as I typed my response, nearly cracking my phone screen. Late at night, I carefully moved Giselle Richards' arm as she slept, fumbling in the dark to change my clothes and grabbing my shoes, ready to head out. However, just as I was about to open the door, the living room light flicked on. I froze like a burglar caught red-handed, panicked and embarrassed. "Where are you going?" Giselle enunciated each word, her tone ominous. Would you believe me if I said I was taking out the rubbish? Dressed like that to take out the rubbish?" Giselle looked me up and down, her gaze finally settling on my carefully groomed face. I felt a bit sheepish, my eyes darting around. But then I noticed an oddly intense look in Giselle's eyes. "Huh? Was there something off about her expression? But this moment passed quickly. The next second, Giselle turned and walked back to the bedroom, leaving me with an ambiguous invitation. Come to bed. Well, a man and woman alone late at night, saying such things, it's bound to make one's mind wander. But as it turned out, I was indeed overthinking it. When Giselle said, come to bed, she meant it literally. Just sleep. She didn't even cuddle me. I reckon she was a bit cross with me. I relayed this to Henry. He responded with surprise. Blimey, doesn't your wife fancy you at all? Henry's comment made me wonder if she really had no interest in me whatsoever. I suddenly felt mischievous and wanted to test her, but then I realized, even if she did have feelings, I wasn't sure I reciprocated. Never mind, I thought, better leave it be. When Henry heard this, he took the mickey out of me again. Your wife's gorgeous and you can resist her. Joe Foster, you're something else, mate. Feeling a bit embarrassed and annoyed at being called out, I turned off my phone. It's late at night, for goodness sake. What's all this talk about fancying or not fancying? Giselle Richards had left early in the morning again. Before she left, I think she kissed my cheek, because the feeling of her soft lips on my face was too real to be a dream. When I woke up, the secretary was sitting in the living room working. I asked her, confused, why are you here? The secretary flashed me a professional smile and said, Ms. Richards only asked me to come. For more details, please call her yourself. After I finished washing up and was about to leave, the secretary also packed up her laptop and followed behind me. I asked her, are you leaving? She replied, are you leaving, sir? What's the necessary connection between me leaving and you leaving? I can only decide whether to leave after you decide, sir. Right, I get it now. This secretary is here to keep an eye on me. So, I called Ms. Richards myself. Giselle Richards. What are you playing at? Sending someone to watch me? Giselle was extremely busy on the other end, but she still managed to brush me off. It's not watching, it's companionship. Thanks a lot. Am I friendless or something? Needing you to send someone to keep me company? Tell her to go back now. Giselle must have heard the anger in my voice. She paused for a moment, then said, all right, I understand. Soon, the secretary received a call from Giselle. After responding twice, she put down the phone and said to me, Ms. Richards asked me to leave in 2 hours. Why in 2 hours? When I saw Giselle running in, taking over from the secretary like a shift change, one staying and one leaving, I finally understood why it was 2 hours later. She didn't trust me to be alone for even a second. I got a bit scared and secretly sent a WhatsApp message to Henry Hayes. What should I do? My wife might be a Yandra. Henry finally took something seriously for once and immediately replied, don't panic. I'm searching on Quora for what to do when loved by a Yandra right now. Not long after, he sent me another message. Good luck, mate. A while later, he messaged again. The Yandra topic is really hot recently. Can I adapt your story and post it on Quora? I replied, have you no shame? Giselle Richards said she came specifically to keep me company. I nodded vigorously, not daring to utter even half a no. Meanwhile, Henry Hayes messaged me. I heard Richards' group has been extremely busy lately. The fact that she's putting everything aside to be with you shows how deeply she cares about you. I wanted to cry but had no tears. Hiding in the shopping center's toilet, I read the Yandra stories he sent me, imagining Giselle grabbing my neck and saying, you'll never leave me in this lifetime. I trembled with fear. I called my old man. Dad, can I get a divorce? My father was discussing business on the other end. Hearing my sudden, out-of-the-blue question, he lowered his voice and said, don't make me come over there and slap some sense into you. I got the message loud and clear and immediately changed my tone. Father dearest, you must be so tired. Goodbye, Father dearest. With nowhere to retreat, I had to face it head-on. I walked out of the toilet and saw Giselle leaning against the railing, watching children dance in the small plaza on the ground floor. She smiled gently, her eyes and the corners of her mouth curved upwards, a soft ripple in her gaze. all warmth and brightness. I remembered when we first met, both unfamiliar with each other, keeping our distance without speaking. At our wedding, we both wore fake smiles for the guests, appearing to be a match made in heaven, deeply in love, when in reality we barely even remembered each other's faces. But even so, she would thoughtfully adjust my collar, tie my necktie for me, and drape a coat over my shoulders when I was underdressed. Could someone so considerate and warm really be that terrifying? "What are you thinking about?" Giselle came over and poked my cheek. "I was wondering if you'd hit me. What's gotten into you?" Giselle rolled her eyes, but a second later, she seemed to think of something and said with a cold smile, "Well, you never know. Blimey, I'm in danger." Henry said that with Yanderas you must never defy them, or it's either her death or yours. But to escape a Yandera, the best way is to make her lose all interest in you. So I stayed up all night watching Giselle's interview videos and decided to do the exact opposite of her ideal type. She likes smart people, so I acted dumb and clueless all day. She likes cheerful and lively people, so I moped around being all melancholic. She likes kind people, so I put on the face of a villain all day, fashioning myself after the evil antagonists in novels and TV dramas. I thought Giselle would surely grow to despise me soon. I was about to return to my wealthy, wifeless, solitary life. Just thinking about it made me happy, made me feel wonderful. But I never expected that after all my shenanigans. Not only did Giselle not tire of me, she spent even more time with me, often hugging me and saying, "I'm sorry, I haven't been taking good care of you." I was at a loss. How on earth could I get Giselle to let me go? Just as I resigned myself to learning how to be a proper husband, a turning point appeared. Giselle Richards went on a business trip abroad. But on the second day, news of her spending a night with a sexy, handsome man in a hotel dominated all the headlines. Messages of concern from parents, relatives, and friends flew to me like snowflakes. Meanwhile, I was at home, looking at the photo of that sexy, long-legged hunk in the news, jumping up and down with excitement and cheering loudly. I immediately called my solicitor to inquire about divorce proceedings. The solicitor reminded me a bit awkwardly, "Mr. Foster, shall we continue the consultation after you've finished laughing?" I felt a bit sorry, but still couldn't stop grinning. The solicitor, being used to all sorts of situations, kindly said, "No worries. I'll send all the information you want to know to your mobile later." Thank you. Haha. Thank you. If there's anything more exciting than a wife not coming home despite being paid, it must be a wife not coming home despite being paid and then being the party at fault in the divorce. I immediately called Henry Hayes. "Mate, let's go out and party tonight. Celebrate my impending freedom." "Huh? Are you genuinely happy or just pretending?" Henry actually questioned me. "Of course I'm genuinely happy. I'm about to be free. This time I might be able to divorce Giselle. And if not, I can at least use this incident as an excuse to keep her away from me forever. Ha ha ha." My laughter stopped the moment Giselle appeared before me, looking travel-worn. "Giselle's back. I've got to go." I quickly hung up the phone. Her expression wasn't quite right, her bloodshot eyes full of fatigue-induced veins. She was looking at me in disbelief, and as I approached, she even took 2 steps back. "I'm asking you what you just said. Was that your true feelings?" Giselle looked as if she was about to cry, which instantly made me flustered and at a loss. "What's wrong with you? Don't change the subject," Giselle shouted, tears that had been welling up in her eyes finally falling with her outburst. "I'm asking you what you just said. Is it true or false?" I was startled, silent, not knowing how to answer. Giselle looked at me, the disappointment in her eyes growing more and more, until finally, she no longer waited for my answer. She turned and left the house with big strides, leaving only the loud bang of the closing door. I was dumbfounded, sitting blankly on the floor, my mind in a jumble. Henry called me asking about the situation. I said, "I don't know." She cried, crying and asking if those were my true feelings. "I don't know. It's so strange. Why would she be like this?" Henry sighed. She must have really fallen in love with you. Then why did she spend the night with that handsome guy in the hotel? Joe Foster, are you daft? The fact that she rushed back home to find you first thing means it must have been a misunderstanding. But why would she love me? That question, you'd better leave it for the gods to answer. Many questions piled up in my head, but only one thing had a definite answer. Giselle wasn't a Yandere. She was so angry and upset just now, but she didn't do anything extreme to me. But this answer seemed to have lost its significance now. Giselle Richards won't answer my calls or come home. Both our parents have tried to persuade her, but it's no use. Her mum told me, there's nothing we can do. She's always been this stubborn. My dad, exasperated, called me. You drove her away, so you better win her back. If you can't fix this, pack your bags and get out. Oh, and about that news incident. The sexy hunk was actually a staff member called in for emergency work during his holiday. The company's PR department released a group photo of the whole team working that day, instantly debunking the fake news. So now I'm the only one at fault. Heavens above. Why are you toying with me like this? Giselle is dead set on not seeing me. To keep me away. She's even had every security guard at her company memorize my face. My current situation is, without a doubt, extremely, particularly, unbelievably difficult. In desperation, I thought of one person who might be able to help me see Giselle, the secretary closest to her, Diane Hill. At the Richards Group building, the security guard greeted Diane. Miss Hill, you've brought your dad to work today, eh? At that moment, only I, in disguise, stood beside Diane. I looked at Diane in shock as she pressed down on my white wig, smiling back at the guard. Yes, I'm showing my dad around the company. Just as I thought we were about to get away with it, Giselle flew past us, saying to the guard and Diane, special measures are in place. No unauthorized personnel allowed. Diane, I'm giving you 3 minutes to buy coffee and put it on my desk, or don't bother coming in tomorrow. The next second, Giselle walked into the lift, Diane rushed towards the coffee shop, and I was left outside, spotted by the sharp-eyed security guard. Giselle, you're ruthless. Later that day, Diane sent me more intel. Giselle would be meeting a client at Kensington Courtyard House at 4 p.m. You can't enter Kensington Courtyard House without a reservation. I asked a friend for help and managed to book the room next to Giselle's. But by 6 p.m., there was still no sign of Giselle. I messaged Diane to ask, but she replied, they went. Someone just told me they've finished and are heading back. Alarmed, I rushed out, but I only caught a glimpse of Giselle's car driving away from the window. No doubt this was another of Giselle's tricks. Diane was nearly in tears on the phone, sending me voice messages. Sir, please, I'm begging you, make up with Miss Richards soon. I can't take any more overtime. Meanwhile, my dad's message popped up like a death knell. It's your grandfather's birthday on Saturday. Bring Giselle for dinner. Don't tell me you two haven't made up yet. Those few words sent chills down my spine. I quickly replied, we've made up. We'll definitely be there for Granddad's birthday. As I put down my phone, I was drenched in cold sweat. Winning Giselle back had become extremely urgent. I asked Diane to send me the information about the hotel where Giselle was staying recently. She replied quickly, adding, Sir, I'm risking my life to pass you this information. You must be brave and try your hardest, sir. Her expectations weighed heavily on me, but not wanting to disappoint her, I replied, I'll do my absolute best. At 7 p.m., Diane informed me that Giselle had left the office. I also set off from Kensington Courtyard House towards the hotel. But at this time of day, the city traffic was absolutely horrendous. Just then, Diane Hill sent another message. Sir, Ms. Richards has to go on an urgent business trip. She's already on her way to the airport. Why don't you go home first and meet her when she returns? My heart skipped a beat. I quickly asked her, when will she be back? Diane replied, on the 18th. It was too late. The 18th was Saturday, and there wouldn't be enough time once she returned. Without much hesitation, I flung open the car door and started running towards the airport. but I stopped after running less than 100 meters. Who was I kidding? I couldn't possibly run all the way to the airport on foot. I'd still be running at dawn. So when I spotted a shared bicycle, I promptly took out my phone, scanned the QR code, and rode off. Once I was past the congested area, I hailed a taxi. Rushing as fast as I could, I finally made it. Giselle Richards was sitting in the waiting area, wearing earphones and on a video call with someone. The person beside her gestured for me to wait a moment. I nodded and turned away, leaning against the wall, panting heavily. Suddenly, I felt a pair of hands gently patting my back, helping me catch my breath. I was startled and turned to see Giselle. She had ended her call and removed her earphones. Now she was looking at me with furrowed brows. Although she was frowning, her eyes gazed at me tenderly. "Why were you running so fast?" she asked. I was afraid you'd leave. I wanted to catch you to say something. Thankfully, I made it." Giselle seemed somewhat exasperated. She took a bottle of water, unscrewed the cap, and handed it to me, saying, "The plane left long ago." What? Only then did I notice that the vast waiting hall was empty except for her and one other person. "Then why are you? Were you waiting for me?" She nodded. "How did you know I'd come?" "Diane called me." I was momentarily speechless, not knowing what to say. Giselle then asked, "Didn't you come because you wanted to tell me something?" I wanted to apologize to you. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you'd be worried I'd misunderstand. I shouldn't have been so happy about divorcing you. Seeing you like that made me feel very guilty. Is that truly how you feel? Or is it just because you want me to attend your grandfather's birthday celebration with you on Saturday?" So she already knew about the birthday celebration. But it's sincere. It has nothing to do with the celebration. I genuinely want to apologize to you from the bottom of my heart. I'm sorry. I've never truly tried to understand your thoughts. I misunderstood your intentions and misinterpreted your motives, causing you to be hurt. It was indeed hurtful. I flew for over 12 hours to come back and explain things to you in person, only to find you so thrilled about divorcing me. Oh, well, let's not bring up that embarrassing history anymore. Joe Foster, it seems we've never really sat down and had a proper conversation since we got married. That's true. Why don't we go home tonight and have a good talk? What? Don't you have to go on your business trip? I've already sent someone else in my place. Oh. Joe Foster and I sat lazily on the balcony in our pajamas, each nursing a glass of wine. The gentle evening breeze ruffled Giselle's fringe, revealing eyes that sparkled like stars. Tonight, Giselle Richards was a sight I'd never seen before, relaxed, carefree, at ease. She took a sip of her wine and looked at me, saying, "To be honest, I didn't much like you when we first met." I wasn't offended and replied with a grin, "Funny that. I didn't like you either. You were so aloof. I thought you were auditioning for a role as an ice queen. You're one to talk, dressed up like a peacock in all those colors. That's called fashion. You're the peacock." We both burst into laughter. Neither of us wanted our families to dictate our marriage, so we'd both tried our hardest to be unlikable when we first met. But in the end, nothing could change what was meant to be. Giselle continued, "In the early days of our marriage, I was so reluctant to see you that I always made excuses about being busy at work. But I felt guilty, so I kept sending you money." Guilty? Those were the happiest days of my life. My wife sending me money and never coming home. I had that big house all to myself. I could sleep however I wanted, come home whenever I wanted. It was brilliant. Really. Giselle hugged her knees and tilted her head, looking at me with rosy cheeks. She looked as adorable as a child. "Of course it's true. I've never been so free. Your mum lied to me." "What?" "Your mum told me that despite your cheerful exterior, you're actually very sensitive and fragile. She said you're terribly afraid of being alone, and that leaving you by yourself would make you very, very sad." I can't believe my mum would say something so ridiculous just to get you to come home. I took a sip of wine to hide my embarrassment. "But didn't you post that status on your Facebook feed?" Something about a lonely night, a solitary heart, and a sad you. I spat out my wine. That was Henry. He was drunk and posted on the wrong account. Didn't I delete it immediately? I can't believe you saw that. Oh? So it wasn't you? I felt guilty for ages, thinking I'd made you that miserable. Drunk Giselle was completely different from her usual self, all soft and cuddly like a little lamb. Well, it's not too late to know the truth now. We could go back to how things were. No. Giselle suddenly stood up and leaned towards me, her bright eyes full of sincerity that pierced straight to my heart. Joe Foster, you're my husband now. It's my responsibility to be there for you, to take care of you. I was speechless. I felt a surge of warmth washing over me, crashing against the shores of my heart. But before I could completely lose myself, a shred of rationality held on. But our marriage is just a transaction. There's no real feeling. You might meet someone you actually like in the future. Who says I don't have feelings for you? She cut me off, her eyes growing deeper, seeming to peer into my very soul. My heart began to race even faster, and she wasn't done stoking the fire in my heart. I'm not sure when I started feeling differently about you. Maybe it was at our wedding when I saw you dozing off in a corner in your suit. Or when you secretly passed me biscuits to cover for my snacking. Or when we stood together facing others. Or maybe when I received your occasional but sincere concern. You've become kind of cute. I sat there, dumbfounded. Joe Foster, I like you. I believe that we'll grow into love with time. What about you? Do you like me? I didn't know if I liked Giselle Richards, but I knew that in that moment, I began to have hope for our marriage. Perhaps I could look forward to happiness. I don't know. I shook my head. But I'm willing to try. With that, I leaned in and kissed her lips. Joe Foster, have always been a man of action. Giselle was stunned for a second, but she quickly responded, gently placing her hands on my back, deepening the kiss. After a long, passionate moment, Giselle pulled away, her eyes filled with intense desire. She looked into my eyes and said tenderly, Joe Foster, tonight I want to become your true wife. All right. I smiled softly, then effortlessly scooped her up in my arms and carried her towards the bedroom. Tonight was sure to be a sleepless night. Saturday, Grandpa's birthday party was in full swing. My mother, looking elegant in her designer dress, walked over with a glass of wine and nudged me with her elbow. You seem to be getting on well with your wife lately. I took a small sip of wine and smiled without saying a word. Oh my, look who's being shy now. Come on, stop teasing me. There are so many people around. It's a bit embarrassing. What's there to be embarrassed about? I'll have you know, this daughter-in-law was carefully chosen for you by your father and me. You'd better treasure her. Was she chosen from financial reports? I couldn't help but add a bit of sarcasm to my words. You cheeky boy. Mum tapped me on the head. What financial reports? It's about character and virtue. The Richards family has a long lineage of passionate people, each one a devoted and loyal woman. As for the rest, what use is money? Are we short of it? Your father and I wanted to find you a gentle and caring woman who could be your lifelong companion. Only today did I realize how thoughtful my parents had been. One day, when you become a father yourself, you'll understand a parent's heart. As my mother walked away shaking her head, Giselle came over and wrapped her arms around my waist, asking tenderly, What did Mum say to you? Nothing much. I just feel quite lucky. Giselle snuggled closer in my embrace, holding me tighter. Henry sent me a message asking, Mr. Foster, how do you feel about your wife coming home every day? With a smile, I replied, It feels not bad at all. Epilogue. Giselle hugged me, reluctantly kissing my face. My phone screen lit up with a message from Diane. Sir, please ask Mrs. Richards to come down. If we don't leave soon, we'll miss the flight. I recalled how aloof Giselle seemed when I first met her, a stark contrast to the clingy person she is now. I forcefully pushed Giselle away by 2 centimeters, poking my head out from her embrace, and after taking a deep breath, I said, Could you please go first? I can hardly breathe with you hugging me so tightly. You're pushing me away. Don't you love me anymore? No, no, I love you, love you. You're my heart, my liver, 3/4 of my life. I coaxed her while pulling her luggage, escorting her to the door. Then, seizing the opportunity, I quickly opened the door and ushered her out. Darling, I'll be back as soon as I can, she called through the door. All right, love you, darling, I responded through the door. Meanwhile, I swiftly sent a message to Diane. Help me keep her occupied. Make her stay away as long as possible. There'll be a reward if you succeed. Diane replied, I saw a lovely new handbag while shopping last time. If you pull this off, I'll make sure you get it. Deal. As night fell, the glittering fairy lights sliced through the darkness with a kaleidoscope of colors. Henry Hayes leaned in close, his whiskey glass in hand, and murmured in my ear, How long has it been since we've had a proper night out? I counted on my fingers, a wry smile creeping across my face. 1 year and 4 months. Exactly 487 days. Henry couldn't help but marvel. Is this what happens when a woman falls head over heels? Does she even remember when she used to be out half the year? Now she practically wants to keep you on a leash. What a change. Don't remind me, I groaned. It's all tears if I dwell on it. I can't even bring myself to protest. When she gives me that pouty look, I can't even say no. All I want to do is hug her and kiss her. Henry raised an eyebrow. Is that a complaint? Why does it sound more like love-struck nonsense? Let's not talk about her. I clinked my glass against Henry's enthusiastically. Giselle probably won't be back until next week. Let's make the most of it. Cheers to that. As the lights and music intertwined, I failed to notice my phone on the table, its screen flickering on and off repeatedly. It wasn't until the wee hours that I saw the messages from Diane Hill. My eyes widened at the string of exclamation mark-laden texts, sobering me up instantly. Sir, change of plans. Ms. Richards will be back tomorrow morning. Sir, Ms. Richards says she's not waiting until tomorrow. She's coming back tonight. Sir, are you home? Ms. Richards is on her way. Sir, where are you? Ms. Richards is looking for you. Sir, are you at the club? Someone spotted you there. Sir, Ms. Richards is coming to get you. Sir, run. You're done for, mate. I was indeed done for, because I had just spotted Giselle Richards. She must have been sitting there for quite some time. She seemed to have noticed me long ago. When I saw her, she was casually seated among a group of people, watching me. She even raised her glass in my direction with a smile. The lights flickered, and Giselle smiled at me from not too far away. Her smile was full of menace. A chill ran from my toes to the top of my head. She waved her phone at me. I picked up mine to see a message from her. I told you, didn't I? You never know. I remembered a conversation we'd had before. I had mistakenly thought she was the jealous type and asked if she would ever hit me. She had said, You never know. You might still have time to run. Came another message from her. I grabbed my coat and bolted. Giselle followed, her long legs taking great strides behind me. In that moment, I felt like a character in a horror film. But as I ran, something felt off. Why was I running? I stopped and turned to face Giselle. She stood with her arms crossed, smiling indulgently. Suddenly, it dawned on me. You were just trying to scare me? What else? She walked up to me and cupped my face in her hands. Did you really think I'd hurt you? I can't believe you scared me like that. That was the point. Giselle threw herself into my arms. Going out without telling me, making me worry. I just didn't want to upset you, I said, wrapping my arms around her waist and looking down into her eyes. And you thought I wouldn't be upset when I found out? Well, if you got upset, I gently rubbed my nose against hers. I just have to make it up to you. Well, I'm upset now, Giselle said, putting on a mock frown. How are you going to make it up to me? Like this. I kissed her left cheek. Has that made it better? No. Giselle shook her head. How about this? I kissed her right cheek. Not enough, I'm afraid. You're so greedy. Well, how about this? I cupped the back of her head and leaned in for a deep kiss on her lips. Giselle held me tight, our faces just inches apart. She looked into my eyes, her voice deep and alluring. That's more like it. Don't keep things from me next time, all right? I worry about you. I won't, I promised. When she looks at me like that, I can't refuse her anything. This chase, this game of cat and mouse, it's just a bit of fun between lovers. Because I love her, I'm willing to be caught.